Welcome to the Florence Foodies Podcast, a place for the community to gather and share the stories, voices, and experiences that make Florence feel like home. To support this podcast and the Florence Foodies platform as a whole, click the Support This Podcast link found in the description.
These fellas cook barbecue, and so they're going to get into their resume and their background a little bit. But we had Maury Thomas on the podcast a few weeks ago, and a master judge with the SCBA, South Carolina Barbecue Association. But today we're going to get in a little bit more in depth into that. So I'm going to ask y'all, what is the SCBA, and how are these competitions and cook-offs organized?
The SCBA stands for South Carolina Barbecue Association, and they got a training process that go through with the judges. In other words, you can't just go judge a barbecue contest. You got to be physically trained. And we as team build novice boxes to train them, and they'll train them on what to look for. And then once they do, I think it's 5 novice boxes, they'll judge them, and they have to actually cook with a cook team and stay up all night too. That way, when they go to judging, they kind of getting a taste of what we have to deal with as cook teams. But most of these events are organizations for fundraisers for backpack for kids, or the Boy Scouts or whatever. They always got some kind of a charity event tied to them. So, and most of the time the communities will come out and support it because of that.
What all areas, at least in your case, have y'all worked in?
Sumter, Kingstree, we've been Malden, Rock Hill, kind of all over the state.
Chester,
we just left Chester. And
Port Royal is top to bottom, but we we try to stay within about an hour and a half, 2 hours from the house.
Okay.
So we'll try to just try to stay close to home. Some of those is like a 3 or 4 hour ride, and the purse is. I mean, by the time you roll up, you got $750 in a contest with your entry fee, fuel, and everything. So it kind of don't make sense.
What's the difference like though across the state? So obviously barbecue's different from Darlington to. I guess you're only going about an hour and a half, but even to Columbia or backside of Columbia, Batesburg or something like that. So how does that affect, does that affect the way that you approach it, or does that affect kind of the results sometimes? How does that work out?
No, we don't change anything. We try to be consistent, and I'm not saying we don't change anything, but pretty much it's 95% the same from every place we go to. Even when we went to like the Royal Oak Invitational, and they had a CBA event in Columbia last year. We ended up grand champion there. We didn't change nothing there either. So I guess to say, why change anything if it's not
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's really the highlight of a lot of this. So what is y'all's resume when it comes to these cook-offs?
Well, we
don't try to hide it.
We've won the rib championship in the SCBA 5 years in a row, minus COVID, and I believe at that time we was in the lead in the points and second in the pork at that time, and I think we've won the pork championship 4 years in a row, and I think last year we ended up 4th in pork. So and this year I think we hadn't done but 4 contests, where a lot of teams has done 8 and 10. We're gonna try to do 10 or 12 this year and see where we fall. Instead of running ourselves ragged.
Well, the way that it was related to me from Maury is that when these guys show up, they win. So the bottom line is they might not want to say that, but I'll say it. But from what we know, these boys know how to make barbecue.
We done 4 contests this year. We've had 3 grand champions and 1 reserve champion, and at the reserve,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, at the reserve we won the pork. So
yeah,
but it's not. We've been doing it. He come along after my buddy got in a car wreck and died, but I've been doing it since '06. Like in a my first contest was whole hog, and it was sanctioned by the SCBA. But so since '06, so it's not like I just jumped in and got my feet wet. I guess we'd say we OG.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's kind of the background into that? I mean, obviously we from the South, so me here in Florence, but I know Coward, Scranton, Lake City, Darlington, Marion. We do whole hog barbecue right there at the house. A lot of us down here, so I'm guessing that's probably part of your story too, growing up. Is that safe to say, or how'd
Not
you get into it?
not I didn't. I had an uncle that cooked on my daddy's side every year for Christmas or whatever. And then on my wife's side, her uncle, he'd always cook. But I started playing around cooking hogs, and I messed up a bunch of them. I got them too hot, too sweet, burnt. I mean, anything you can think of, I did it. But I finally perfected a sauce for whole hog. It's different from this, and I call it hog gravy. And actually, it's wrote down on a piece of paper, and it says church recipe, because our church would do fundraisers, and I would make the sauce, and we cook 8 or 9 hogs to raise money for the church. So it's different. It's hotter. But I think we won King Street whole hog. I believe one year we under the team Hotlanta is where we started. It was like me and Glenn and Bobo Graham, and we started. I believe the first contest, it was me and a friend of mine, and we come in 7th out of 50 something teams, and then the next year we come in like 20th or whatever. The next year, 18th, and so finally we put together Team Hotlanta, and we come in 2nd in the whole hog, 2nd in the chicken, 2nd in the ribs. And then the next year, I said, we ain't cooking chicken and ribs, we're going to win the pork. And my buddies was mad. I was like, no, I'm not focusing on nothing but winning. So we entered 2 hogs. We come in 1st and 2nd place. And then the next year, we entered 2 hogs. We come in 1st and 2nd place. And King Street dropped the SCBA judging because so many people was mad. So then we went from the team named Hotlanta to Tailgater Hater because everybody was hating us. So
How long ago was that?
well, I believe I had to look back, but it was my first one was in '06, so 7, 8, 9, probably around 10, 12, somewhere around in there.
Okay. So yeah, it's about 20 years y'all been doing it though.
I started
21.
21.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've been cooking a lot longer than that.
Yeah, my family's always cooked like you talk about whole hog at Christmas and all. My
Yeah.
daddy and Pat Mathis's family, Pat and them, they would cook whole hogs, and
Yeah.
they always done it with the old hard way, oak wood and a drum, and all night long. And
That's about the only way to do it.
Oh, they got mad with us in King Street because we won, like I say, 1st and 2nd place 2 years in a row. Well, then they dropped the SCBA, and then they come back, and they had the SCBA judging again, and they was doing butts because they couldn't get enough teams professionally to do whole hogs. So they had a whole hog for local people, and that's where he come about. I was like, man, I need you. He's like, what? I said, they won't let me cook, pro class and local class. I said, I'll make the gravy, you cook the hog. He said, okay, come. Guess what he did?
What?
Won, yeah. So we had them hating on us again.
Yeah.
So, but
Hence the name, I guess.
Yeah.
We're getting to that in a minute though.
yeah.
All right, well, let me ask you this. So obviously you guys know a thing or two about the subject. So what would you say, in your opinion? I'll ask you about, pulled pork barbecue and then also ribs. We'll start with the barbecue though. What makes a good barbecue?
Oh, the first thing that's going to separate everybody is appearance. And I know every person that's just starting pro or is not a pro and only does a few a year, they say that's the dumbest. I hate that. But that comes with experience. So just like a commercial on TV, they'll show you a hamburger that's this tall and sweaty looking, cheese running there, and you go get one, it don't look like that. But the whole process was to get you there to buy one. So it's the same thing with your pork box. But then you got to cook it perfect. You don't want to make it dry or tough. So and then of course the rubs and the sauces, all that's That's going to separate you. But your first thing is appearance. You eat with your eyes.
But what about when you go out? If you just go to eat barbecue, are you just eating for yourself? What are you looking for?
Old school barbecue. I be honest with you. It could be cooked. It could be cooked on charcoal or gas. It's like me myself. It's gonna be the sauce when I'm eating it for myself. So
Vinegar pepper.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm eating barbecue. I don't too much travel around here looking. It's always country cousin. About every Thursday we eat there. They keep us a lot of long ribs, and
Yeah.
I did have a buddy call me last week and was talking to me, and he said, "Look, I can get things lined up. I'd like for us to go try Elliott." So I hadn't tried that yet. I think you have.
Yeah.
We're gonna go.
Well, so we went. That was how I met y'all. More invited me. We went to Country Cousins out there in Atlanta, and that was excellent. And the funny thing is, people that aren't from our area, it's like I talk about a lot. We're moving a lot of people down here from all over the place. Whole nother subject for another podcast, probably. And but they go out to eat, and I'm just guessing they probably see all these. You've got Rogers, Cane's, Woodstone, and the list could go on. And these places are all about the same as far as the format goes, But you go in, and somebody like that may look at it and say, well, this is all the same stuff. And the weird thing to me is, I don't see it that way. Cane's barbecue is different than Woodstone's, different than Rogers. I like all of them. And so to say that I like one a lot, it's not throwing anybody else under the bus. I like them all. They're raised on particularly those three, particularly Cane's and Rogers. But when we went out there to Atlanta, I told Maury, I said, that was fantastic. And that hash was some of the best that I've had.
I don't even eat hash.
That's the only place I eat it.
That's the only place I
Man.
ever eat it at is there.
So I'm planning on, and I mentioned this, but I'm planning on making a visit out there and just bringing some of that to the surface, because a lot of people here in Florence might not know, because we don't go to Atlanta a lot,
Right, man.
So, but anyways,
Now, see, they started in Scranton,
Yep.
okay.
and they were there when I was a little boy. And when we got in our, we was probably 18, 19. There was about four of us. We'd always go on Friday and eat. And we'd walk in, and I'd say, well, it's going to be pretty decent today. And next week we come in, and I'd say, man, it's going to be off the chain today. And I'd done that for several months. And I had a friend of mine that eat with us, and he said, how do you know when you walk in the door whether the barbecue's going to be off the chain or just pretty decent? And I said, I always look at CJ. And he said, what you mean CJ? I said, I look at CJ. I said, if CJ's hair's combed, I said, barbecue's okay. I said, if his hair's messed up, it's going to be off the chain. And he said, what's that got to do? I said, well, you just start paying attention. And I said, you'll see the difference. And he started watching. And if CJ's hair was messed up a little bit, his barbecue was always a little better. It had a little more heat to it.
Yeah.
He's telling the truth.
And I said, so
If it's cold, he ain't been working.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, you take a little drink when you make that barbecue sauce.
Okay, I got you.
It get a little hotter, which is better.
That's how I like it personally. That's
Yeah.
why we got a chili pepper on that logo. My wife would tell you I like it hot. So.
Yeah, I'm one of these guys that I'll eat barbecue, sweet, hot, smoky, gas. Like Brown's barbecue. Schoolhouse. I'll eat at any of them.
Yeah.
I'm not. You can. A barbecue restaurant. It's hard for them to make barbecue that everybody likes. That's why they have sauce there. You can make it as hot as you want it or not. That's it's just common sense. So,
Yeah.
I try not to throw none of them under the bus either. So,
Well, it's all good now. A lot of people do something a little bit different. So one place that really got us started with everything that we're doing is Slabs out in Lake City. And I like what Barbara and Brian are doing out there. And their pulled pork is different than a lot of what you get at other places also. And I really enjoy it. So it is. For the people that aren't local that wouldn't know, you might say, well, I've been to Rogers, so I don't need to go to these other places. No, you need to go to try all of them, because it's going to be a little bit different, and you might like all of them too.
Yeah, and he's cooking on a stick burner too. If he still is, I know he started on that, so that's going to give you a different flavor too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we really like what they're doing out there too. So what about the ribs then? That's the barbecue, but what makes a good rib?
I'm gonna be straight up sweet. Far as in the SCBA, sweet heat. That's of course it's got to be perfect tender. Like you don't want to bite and all the meat come off the bone. It has to like have your impression of where you bit it, and not tug, come away clean, and basically leave a bite mark in it.
See, a lot of people don't realize that, because a lot of people, I had to get schooled on this a while back, but it was, a lot of us grew up thinking if meat falls completely off the bone, that's what you want. But I've realized that with the rib, that's not
Yeah,
quite the case.
they'll hammer you if it does that. But at home, if you're cooking for your family and your friends at home, yeah, you want it to fall off the bone. Just yeah.
Why is it different? Why do you think they?
I guess if you have it I guess if you make it tender, well then there's no way to tell which one is. You didn't want to mean tender, but if you get it perfect, when you bite it, it's not tough and no tug and it's clean bite, then you nailed it. Like somebody could cook it tender, but then somebody cook it a little more tender. Look, when's it over tender? When's it mushy? So I guess you have to have a criteria, I guess, on the tenderness part, which you got to perfect that. So
that takes skill.
Yeah, because he was at a contest and.
Yeah, buddy of mine, he cooked right beside me, and I watched his grill. His grill started catching on fire, smoke rolling out. His wife said, what did he do? I said, he needs to come fix his grill. 400 degrees. He comes back, checks it. I say, you going to check your ribs? Yeah. I reached there and stuck them. They 233 degrees. He cuts his grill down to 200 and leaves it on another hour and a half and wins the competition.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't eat one of his ribs, but it had to be tender. There ain't no way it couldn't have been.
Right.
The bones had to slide out and make a McRib out of that one.
But he won though. Make a McRib out.
It wasn't a sanctioned event.
No.
Okay.
It was the Harvest Festival in Johnsonville, and they changed it this year. They didn't do ribs. They done chicken.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the reason you have that criteria of a clean bite.
Yeah.
Keep that.
So when you get all these guys, and especially like this, that are doing this on a regular basis and competing to win, I mean, it's a competition, and the higher you go up, the more the skill level is going to be. You're going to have some people that are very experienced, and it's fine-tuned. So that's what Phillip's saying, is that it's dialed in, and it does take skill. And one thing that like I said, my brother-in-law does competition ribs. We were talking about this last weekend, but another thing that people wouldn't maybe realize is the temperature outside, how the wind's blowing, any of these little variables. It's almost like a field goal kicker to me, like a football field goal kicker. Like any little variable can change what you're used to. So you've got to be able to adjust. You got to know how to adjust to whatever the circumstances are and what you're cooking, right?
Right, exactly. We've had contests where our butts like normally be done, and they like on the pit, and it'd be weather, or it'd be a different type of butt, and it just like it took longer for it to like break down and get tender. So you get curveballs thrown at you, and then you'll have some that'll be tender at a certain temperature, and then some other brands won't. That you'll have to carry them on up.
That's got to be one thing that would separate when you go up through the levels where people can't adjust on the fly. I'm like, all right, this isn't going like it's supposed to, and knowing how to tweak it.
Yeah, and see, a lot of teams get stuck on like a temperature, like what temperature you pull your money muscle at. It's like really, I'll stick the thermopin in, and I'll intentionally turn the temperature away from me, and I'm feeling it. And then I'll start looking, and some of the money muscles will be tender 5 degrees cooler than another one. So you really go by feel, and like I said, that comes with experience.
Comes with experience, yeah. What kind of cookers do y'all like? And I'm not asking just necessarily. I'm not asking you to give away all your details and all that, but just in general, like for somebody listening to this at home, the guy's Father's Day is coming up, and he's gonna say, "Hey, honey, you know what? I sure would like a new cooker. What do you guys like?"
I'll tell you what I got at home. I got if for home cooking, not competition cooking, which you can cook competition, but for all around cooker, John Haney makes a good grill. He's right out of I don't know if it's somewhere going next Charleston. I don't know if it was Somerton or somewhere through that area, Canes Bay, somewhere through there. But he builds a phenomenal grill. It's gas, and then right above the gas burner, he's got this tray to keep the drippings from falling on the burner and you put wood chunks on it. So if you were like, if a guy at home was wanting to cook, he could throw pieces of wood or charcoal on top and it'll sit there and give it that wood flavor without having to, spend a ton of money on these like gravity fed smokers or, but
I got an assassin I cook on at home, and when I went to Johnsonville to cook that rib, I loaded it up and carried it. It does real good, and you don't have to worry about it ever rusting away like a regular old grill you buy at Lowe's or somewhere. It's made heavy duty.
It's made in USA steel. Assassin smoker. It's pellet grills. What he's talking about. We run the Royal Oak, pellets in it, and yeah, them things are made like a tank. So
well, there you have it. If Father's Day's coming up, some of you guys out there might be a couple ideas you could toss out. Look some stuff up on the internet. So I want to talk about this sauce. This is your barbecue sauce, and we're going to give away some bottles of this, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But what's the story behind this? How did this come about, and where can people find it?
I got it in a few local stores. KJ's up here at Ebenezer in Florence, Piggly Wiggly off of Cherokee, and then Lake City, KJ's, and I think in Piggly Wiggly and Johnsonville, Andrews. There's something, I think 2 Piggly Wigglies. And in Coward, at Stop and Shop, they keep it. They don't never run out. Some of these grocery stores don't take a lot of back stock, but anyway, you can hit me up on Facebook if anybody's looking for it and can't find it. I'll message you back. Might be a day or 2, but I'll get you.
How'd it come about though? How'd you end up making your own sauce?
We was my friend Glenn that got in the Caraway Pass. He worked at Piggly Wiggly, and his boss was wanting to cook chicken and ribs for the public. Well, let me take that back. Wanted to cook chicken for the employees. So Glenn asked me if I could make some. I called it at the time my chicken sauce. I had a pork sauce and a chicken sauce. He said, "Man, can you make me some chicken sauce?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We cook it for the employees at work." So I made it, and he cooked for the employees at Piggly Wiggly in Lake City. Well, then it was like a week or 2 later, his boss said, "Man, we're going to start cooking chicken and ribs outside to sell." So he went around and asked every employee, "What sauce you want to use?" He meant off the shelf, and everybody said, "I want to use that one Glenn had. I want to use the one Glenn had." So I started making it, and they was actually cooking with it outside and selling it. And so I had to have it bottled, for DHEC. Didn't want anybody getting sick or anything like that. So that's where it started, So Glenn had a big part in that, He cooked in outside on a grill, and there was a truck driver driving through Lake City, and he could smell it. And this is at the other Piggly Wiggly. They moved into the old Bilo building. But anyway, the guy rode by and he could smell it. And he rode around, and finally he come up, he said, "I know that I was gonna find you." He's like, "Well," he said, "Man, you got this whole town stank up." he said, "And I meant I was gonna find you." He said, "And I found you." Anyway, so he cooked out, so everybody called him the barbecue man. It didn't matter where we went. "Hey, barbecue man." And I see you Thursday or Friday and Saturday. He cooked Fridays and Saturdays at the store.
All right. Well, what we're gonna do is just a little promotion for this episode. We're going to give away 7 bottles of this sauce. So Phillip, graciously brought us some bottles, and a couple of them might be mine. So I'm going to share some of them with you. So we're going to give away 7. So all you got to do to enter, real simple: like, subscribe, leave a comment on the YouTube video version of this podcast episode. That's all you got to do to enter, and then we'll give 7 bottles away to 7 different people. So like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment on this episode, and we'll do that drawing somewhere in June, maybe the end of the month, maybe the middle of the month.
Yeah, we could get Dennis to sign them too.
Yeah, we could do that.
Smoking Nature Boy. That's what his nickname is.
Smoking Nature Boy.
Woo!
Woo! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do that then. We're gonna update that. 7 signed bottles in June. And that's vinegar pepper sauce. And it's mild. It's not real hot from what I'm not a good person to ask though, because I'll tell somebody something's not hot and then blow them off the ledge.
a lot of people, I've had people to say it's hot. I was like, did you salt and pepper your food? He's like, yeah. I said, it's in there. I mean, you don't,
Yeah.
if you want to, and people say, you don't got one hotter? I was like, pepper your food when you cook. If you, I
Right.
said, but it's,
Can't please everybody.
yeah, it's good it's good like it is. But yeah, if you put a hot rub, it'll get hotter. But it's got a vinegar twang to it. Some people don't like that, but
Well, it's the PD.
it's in where we at. Yeah.
But the thing, and I'll tell you, I kind of mentioned the story, but I'll tell it now for everybody. But the funny thing about this is, and I think it was around Christmas of year before last. Well, it might have been last year. Anyways, it wasn't too long ago. My other brother-in-law, not the same one. I got a couple of them, but he came over to the house, and he called my wife, his sister, and said, I got this barbecue sauce I'm gonna bring Sammie, and I got a couple bottles from KJ's. I'm gonna bring it to him. He's got to try it. He said they got it at KJ's. You can't find this stuff all over the place, and it's super good. So I mean, he came in like he's found gold treasure. I'm serious. I'm not blowing smoke up you. It's dead serious. So he brings it, and it was this sauce, and we used it, and it was good, and that was kind of an afterthought. And then whenever we brought Maury on and we went to the competition and met you, when he told me that brought it full circle. I was like, man, you're the guy. So I immediately had to call my brother-in-law. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I met the guy that makes the stuff. So naturally, I had to return the favor. So one of those bottles is going to him too. But yeah, it was a funny story.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got a lot of people that I hadn't tried it yet, but they'd say they'd put a Boston Bud in a crock pot and cook it low all day long. And when they come home from work, they'll pour the grease out, pour a bottle of that in, and let it sit in another 15, 20 minutes. So that's some of the best
That's
barbecue.
the easy way to do it.
Yeah. So
Or put it in the Dutch oven and throw it in the oven.
yeah. So if you want some, barbecue without all the work, I mean, hey.
Yeah. That's good too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
more than one way to skin a cat.
That's right.
But do y'all have any funny stories or any stories that you just think would be good listening?
Yeah. Last year we done first ever Southeastern Barbecue Showdown in Columbia. And Phillip said, you want to go? I said, yeah. Well, South Carolina Barbecue Association called. They wanted us to go to, sponsor them. And
they paid our entry fee.
They paid the entry fee. Well, contest, they flew in 2 teams out of Texas, 1 out of Japan.
Wow.
Team out of Texas, it was a first class barbecue in there. Yeah. And that morning we started out taking our chicken and all to turn in. Was the first thing was chicken. Well, when I walked by first class, he said, how's your chicken? I said, man, we don't do chicken very much. I said, most of our contests, we just do butts and ribs. So I turned it in. Well, I come back by the second time, it was ribs. And he said, how's your ribs? I said, well, ribs are good. I said, I ain't got to worry about that. So when I come back from turning the box in, he said, come in. And I walked over and he said, here, try this. He gave me a rib and I bit it. I said, Bo, that's good. He said, it is. I said, that rib is so good. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what it's going to do. It's going to get you second place right behind us in first place. And he looked at me kind of crazy. Well, when we done awards, it started out, we finished second in chicken. We finished first in ribs. They called him second for ribs, and when they played our music for first in ribs, he looked there. He said, "Daggum, he told me, did he?" Then when they done pork, we won first in pork, and we finished 6th in brisket. Really, kind of won the contest, but they had it all set up to a bunch of pretty foods. What they let win the whole show, and
went to the world
should be on what your food tastes like, not what's pretty.
Right. So that was the Texas team.
Yeah.
What did where'd they finish with the brisket?
He usually finished pretty good. He probably finished first or second in brisket. I can't remember.
I can't remember who won the brisket. That's what's so weird about that. It was a barbecue contest, and they never promoted like who won. Like, everybody was asking us, like, of course CBA put it on their website, but as far as them promoting it, you really don't know. We was grand champion. I believe first class was reserve, wasn't he? I believe, they was reserve.
What about the Japanese team? Where'd they finish?
I think
when it was all said and done at the end of the day,
I think they were third because it was first class, and then you had
Well, they got to be good if they flew in all the way from
Yeah,
Japan.
there was some social media teams, influencers, but they, yeah, I'm sure they were good, but they come in fourth, with their, see what they done is they took the top 5 in the barbecue competition. Then you go on to it was a second round. You were supposed to take your leftover proteins and make dishes out of them. Of course, we did. We just some of our stuff was like cold because they only give you an hour, to turn in.
Yeah. Some of our stuff was still in the truck. They locked the gate and couldn't go to the truck to get it.
Yeah, you couldn't get in and out like But anyway, it was an experience, and a lot of people didn't know who we were, and KCBS or CBA or whatever. But once we, I guess you say, beat the teams from Texas, it's kind of like I noticed we had some people viewing our pages, but we
Well, they should know that.
They do now.
Come over here and win it.
Yeah,
you might. That's why I said you might win brisket.
Yeah, ain't gonna pick on. I'm gonna tell you right now, South Carolina. You ain't gonna come and you're not gonna dominate pork in South Carolina. I don't care. I'm just telling you. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about studs.
Just in general.
There's some studs in the SCBA. And Jason Singletary, one of our best friends, he cooks KCBS. He goes all over. He actually went to the Royal and flew there, cooked under rented a camper and cooked. I guess under a tent,
barge drums, drums,
and was reserve champion the second day up there. I mean, that's a stud, man. And all these, like you got Monkey Bottom is one of our friends. He's right. All us is Florence County people. I mean, if you could make a dream team to go Memphis in May, hey man, why don't you get us a fundraiser going? We want to have a dream team to go to Memphis in May. We can't afford it, but
we might talk about that.
Yeah, Jason.
I want to tag along though.
Yeah, that's cool. You got Jason Singletary. That'd be my first pick. Yeah. Then we get George Ray with Monkey Bottom, and we got Kaiser Smoker. He's KCBS stud. Sadie Beth. I mean.
Yeah, no, I try to tell people. I mean, you can make a legit case that right here in the PD and maybe some of the low country too is moving out to the coast and down south. This is the mecca of barbecue right here. You're
not gonna pick on South Carolina. You got some good teams in North Carolina too. Now I'm not doubting that, but with the SCBA we get 8 butts at an event. Sometimes we'll get 16, but like with these KCBS teams, a lot of those guys is going to cooking pork collars now, or they might cook 2 butts or 3 butts. We get 8 every week. There's a contest somewhere. There's 20-something contests, close to home. So we get a lot of practice on ribs and butts. I'm not saying you're gonna win every time you go somewhere, but you ain't gonna walk over, these teams.
Yeah. Well, that's a big conversation. So Texas, when they say barbecue and we say barbecue, that's 2 different things. I would expect they come over here and they get the butt kicked, but brisket's a different story though. Yeah. That's something that I know they do well.
And they do. I mean, for them not having a lot of like pork, I guess they do good. I mean, they do good. But we cooked in the SCBA since 06, and we go to the CBA event, first one ever, get a perfect score of pork.
Wow.
You can't get that in the SCBA. There's no such thing. 17's the highest. I think we scored the highest in rib in Chester last week before last. It was a 16.5124 or something like that. So we had said it there year before last. I think the Monkey Bottom broke it. Then we broke it again. So, and we had the highest in pork. And I think Kaiser Smoker, I think he's got it now. But
I think we've been banned for Chester. Fire chief over there says to not letting us come back.
Wow. Man.
Yeah, so
that's rough.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough. We're gonna do the whole hog in King Street. That's our favorite, man. We used to cook the King Street whole hog contest, every year. Farmers Telephone's a big sponsor of ours. Of course, they'll pay our entry fee, anything in their region. So, and we want to represent them in their hometown. So we didn't cook the whole hog for a few years because it interfered with the points championship. So, year before last, I believe it was? Yeah. We hadn't cooked in a while, so we pull our trailer there and we go to cooking. And there was 3 or 4 proteins there. And I told my buddy Monkey Bottom and Gene Backwoods, I was like, and Fitz, I was like, man, don't build no box. He's like, what? I said, don't build no box. I said, don't use no sweet sauce. And he looked at me sideways. Like, yeah. So I'm in their head. And I'm telling them the truth. So I'm in the head. I was like, is he telling me this because he don't want me doing it? You know, I can see that in their mind. And I'm like, I'm telling the truth. I said, I'll show you my box. So anyway, Gene was always have a bad habit of hiding. And we're going to turn a box in. He'd slip up right behind us. He'd turn in behind us. So I went to turn in. And just so happened, looked around. He was smiling. He was right behind me. I'm like, where'd you come from? He was hiding behind a trailer waiting, I think. So anyway, I turned around and opened my box and showed it to him, closed it. He opened his box. He had his pork lined neat, had sweet sauce on top. Anyway, we won the whole hog contest. And I said, I told you don't build no box. And I said, I'm gonna explain to you why I told you that. I said, most of these judges in here is probably cooked in this event and probably got beat by pro teams. I said, there's 4 pro teams here by looking at the teams here. I said, so them judges know there's 4 pro teams here. You just let them know you was one of them. I said, my box is just grab barbecue, throw it in, turn it in. I said, they have no clue who I am. And we won. So now they'll listen to me, I guess.
Should have paid attention.
And then Monkey Bottom Cook had a whole hog in Greenville last year. They fixing to have it, I think, this weekend.
This weekend.
This weekend. And I made him some hog gravy, and he actually won the contest. So I'm gonna make him some again this year. But
nice. What's the hog gravy?
it's hotter. I have to get you. Matter of fact, if you like it hot, it's kind of like it's kind of like Scott's.
Okay.
It's very, very similar to that. It's like a Williamsburg County style, but I guess you say.
Okay.
But it's
you can't get a recipe.
No.
The only way I get it is when he keeps the bucket. His wife's gonna give it to me now.
Yep.
You send me a bucket of it, that'd be fine too.
Yeah.
You know?
But if you like it hot, I'll actually mix this with it. So
we talked about the hash out there in Atlanta. What makes a good hash? Because when Elliot came on, we talked about hash too. He's not a hash eater, but he was talking about the different kinds of hash in different parts of the state. But down here we do the liver hash, and you know that kind of gets overlooked. You talk about the barbecue places. We talk a lot about the barbecue, but the hash is hash, red eye gravy. I mean, these are the staples to me, at least growing up. What makes a good hash?
That hash at CJ's, it don't have that real livery taste to it, and it's
meaty too.
Yeah, and it's I don't know what he does. I'm sure it's a secret, but some of them, you know, somewhere it's so livery. You know, I'm so glad that my daddy didn't like beef liver when I was growing up. I'd have had to eat it and loved it. I'd have loved it by now, but you know, he didn't care for it, so that was one thing I didn't have to worry about. But I don't know. Other places I taste it, and I just can't. It just don't hit like CJ's.
No, I don't. I mean, I'll eat it. I'll eat it at a lot of places, but definitely theirs is a kind of a notch up. I had to go back and get more. My eyes were bigger than my stomach. I left a bunch on the plate, but I was like, I got to get back and get some more of that.
Yeah, the old fella I was telling you about that was asking about CJ and all. He would go, like for dessert, when we'd have to finish eating, he'd go get him a cup and put it in and drink it.
Yeah.
So I can't speak a whole lot on it because I had never eat it anywhere but there. So I just.
Well, I mean, it's that good. I'm not making it up.
And everybody told me, man, you got to try it. You got to try it, man. Yeah. I don't like it either, but this is huge different. And sure enough, and Jason Singletary, same thing. So I don't know what they do to it, but it's definitely different. It's best, you know, best he's ever eaten to.
Yeah. Okay.
You wanted another funny story. The whole hog contest in Kingstree. One year we was down there and you know, a lot of drinking going on at them whole hog contests like that. And anyway, one of the guys I reckon had too much to drink. Went some I don't know if he got drunk and passed out or what, but the grill went out. I guess when he realized it or woke up, I don't know. He reached on and lit it, and boom! It blowed the lid open, blowed the hog out, landed on the ground. And they took rinsing off water hose and stuck it back on there and lit it. And then we had another guy that his grill caught on fire. He opened it up to check on his hog, and the grease started dripping. And anyway, it flared up, started burning his tent, and it had a hole in his tent. And we all just standing around looking, you know. And the tent's drip, drip, drip. The plastic, I mean, it's drip. You couldn't out it.
Oh man!
So there's all kind of stories that goes on. You were saying something about grills for like Father's Day or whatever. a grill that a lot of people, smoker, whatever you want to call this, a smoker, I guess, but a lot of people look over the Gateway drum. They're I guess they're around, you know, $800 to $1,000, I guess, somewhere, if they run them on sale, maybe a little cheaper, I guess. But you could smoke on. I've done it myself. You could smoke on them low for 16 hours off that basket of charcoal easy, and still keep going. But you could. Most people cook. It's showing needle 300, but it'll be about 340, 350. But you cook hot and fast, and there's probably more teams winning off of those smokers than any other smoker on the market. And like I said, they're so easy to ramp up or turn down. So, and they don't use much fuel. So that'd be a good Father's Day present.
I might try to grab a couple of these we talked about today and just drop a link down in the show notes. If anybody wants to look into them, they can.
Definitely. Royal Oak. Like to thank them. They like Farmers Telephone was like our first sponsor. Been with us the longest, and then Royal Oak. Of course, they supply all our tumbleweeds and pellets and charcoal, best there is. And then we got the Atlanta Barbecue Store. Anything you need barbecue, reach out to them. They phenomenal people. They're like a family-owned business too. And then Heath Riles, he's got some amazing products. And he was a big part of that record scoring rib. So definitely, try out his stuff. We've been using his pork injection, for years. I guess our first championship, but all his products, you can get them. I think you get them Atlanta Barbecue Store. You can get them there definitely. But if you're not ordering online, you can hit Walmart up or.
Well, I'll get links for all of that from you, and I'll drop them down in the show notes. If you want to look into any of this stuff, it'll be down there in the description on the YouTube channel and in the show notes on the podcast, so you can find all of that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know about a barbecue contest, you go to SCBA, South Carolina Barbecue Association, and they'll have upcoming events. You can follow who's in the lead in the points championship. You can look at past scores. I mean, they got one, everywhere. And SBN, Southern Barbecue Network, they got contests about everywhere too. So you can find a contest close by.
And I'll link that down in the description also.
Yeah, Royal Oak's real good to us. They've invited us to come 2 times to cook for them, and when you go to one of their contests, they roll out the red carpet now. They put you up in a motel room. You get 3 meals every day. Super nice people, and anything you need when you're there, they'll look out for you. And
they give you all your
meat and all,
and
charcoal, and
awesome. Okay. Well, I definitely will link Royal Oak down in the show notes also. So, all right, fellas. So this is a segment that we do on every episode. It's called the Florence Foodie's Favorite Florence Food Item, and this is sponsored by Drayton Realty Group. So I'm going to ask y'all, anywhere in Florence County, when you go out to eat, and I probably might be able to guess what the answer is going to be, but I don't know. When you go out to eat, though, at a restaurant, what is 1 or 2, if you got a few you want to name, but your favorite item at any restaurant in Florence? Start with whoever wants to go first.
What is it? Texas Roadhouse. I mean, the ribeye. I'm a steak guy, and of course, you're in Lake City. Piggyback's got a good ribeye too, so I'm not gonna leave it. And it is fried catfish and fried shrimp. Man, them things off the chain.
Now I'm gonna ask you medium rare.
Medium. Oh. If it's rare, I mean, I'll eat it. I mean, I hate getting medium because a lot of times it's medium well. If it would be a perfect medium, yeah, but
okay.
But yeah, I'll eat it. It don't matter.
I go mid rare on my steak. That's why I was just asking. I don't like it rare, but mid rare.
I like it pink all the way through.
Mine's medium rare, and
Yeah. So what about you?
Texas Roadhouse has a good steak, and when I go there, that's what I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna eat a steak. Longhorn has a good steak. They got a fella there that he can cook. When I go and sit down, I ask the waitress if he's cooking, and if she says yeah, I said, well, I know my food's gonna be good. And
What's his name?
it's kind of funny
Is
name.
it Zebo?
It's something like that. Yeah.
Zebo McDuffie? Zebo, is that you? I don't know. I worked at Person Willis for about 10. Well, I'm sorry. I waited tables for about 10 years. I worked at Person Willis for about 5 of that 10.
Oh man, they had a good
And see, that
marinated
big old, and
ribeye.
you guys are, cooks. Y'all know that, and there's different devices you cook with, but that was a big wood grill. And everybody can't handle it. I always was so impressed because we had different grill cooks, but a couple of those guys really could handle it. And on a Friday night, I mean, you got salmon, you got all different kinds of meat too.
A disaster zone.
Yeah. And I mean, but to get that food to temp and get it out there to the table, I always was super impressed. And I felt like Zebo. So Zebo, if you see this, or Rondell, any of you guys, then you tell Zebo. But I thought he did such a good job on the grill. No slight to any other guys. Stanley, no slight to you. But I always just thought Zebo did a good job. And I think he's at Longhorn. I don't know. I'm completely guessing. But if he is, then I know exactly what you mean. He knows his way around a grill.
Yeah, them cooks like that
in a state.
They can look and tell. They can look at the color.
Exactly. Yeah.
They,
You can hit it. And Stanley,
difference.
to Stanley's credit, the chicken. He just tapped the chicken.
Yeah.
And he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were kind of talking about that earlier. You get to know the meat, so you know. All right, it's ready.
That's like ribs. Everybody asks me how long you smoke your ribs for. I was like, really? Well, I can tell you how long I do it. If I'm cooking at 300, you cooking at 250, it's not doing you any good.
Yeah.
I said, smoke your ribs until your rub is firm and it's set and it's not mushy like toothpaste. You can't move it around with your finger. It's set. Then you can go to wrap. Because if you wrap it before that, when you wrap it, all of it washes off.
Yeah.
So you got to let it set and then not let it get too dark.
That's a whole nother subject. Some people wrap, some people don't.
Yeah, we wrap.
Yeah. But
now another restaurant now, I just 301. They're on the rings. Lord, have mercy. I think they told me they make them fresh. So, but that's if I will go to 301 and I'm getting onion rings, man.
That's a Florence classic right there.
Yes, Lord.
For a long time.
Yeah. I go to Townhouse. We go to Townhouse a lot. And I'm either get the Greek chicken or a hamburger steak. And my mom was always gonna get her a steak sandwich and all. And George has always been good to us. Jumping Jays has been good. When my daddy passed away, Jumping Jays stepped up and they done stuff for us that you don't expect them to do it because they're a business, but they did. They treat us just like family, and George does too. My mama, when George would ring us up, she'd say, "Did he ring that up right?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I ain't sure. I think he's wrong." And I said, "Mama, George is just looking out for you. I see he's that kind of person, and they real nice. And you appreciate that when you go to any restaurant and all. You spending your money, you'd like to be treated just like one of them wants to be treated, and it makes a difference where you go if you get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Pizza Roma in Lake City. Of course, they got new owners now. The original Pizza Roma people, we was like 16, 17 years old going in those places and be older and go in and they know you and know who you are. I mean,
remember what you eat from back then.
Yeah. They got new owners now. They moved to a different location, but they got a really, really good sub.
Well, that's a big part of what's special about our community. And so we talk about all these people moving in, and we had the mayor on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this. That's that part of Florence we want to keep. We want to keep that.
Yeah.
And there's other people that are coming in. They're welcome. They come on in and experience that too, and they're going to like that. But I don't think that you find that in all these places across the country. So
you're right.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, those are great answers. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate y'all coming. And just, do you have a schedule where y'all going to be next? Maybe people come out and.
I think.
Do you know where you're going?
Malden will be our next one. It's in September.
Yeah. Malden, and then Lakewood at the beach, and then down at Somerville at the lake.
Ridgeway, Camden. Trying to think. I know we'll do 10 or 12 total for the year.
Well, if you could get me any kind of upcoming schedule too, I'll also put that down in the show notes. So if you want to go out to a competition and not just check out these guys, but just the whole way that it flows and experience it. Yeah.
Florence has had one. We just done theirs a couple months ago, and they moved out to the
Oh,
fairgrounds.
Yeah, to the fairground. That's where
Yeah,
I
he
met.
was-
Well,
yeah,
that's
he
where I
was
met you at.
And
yeah.
it really shocked me that as many people showed up. But
Yeah.
it was real nice. It had plenty of room and all for parking and
Mhm.
all.
And I'm hoping
And they
get
paid
bigger.
real good. Florence had paid more than any other contest we've been to so far.
All right, let's go Florence.
Florence, yeah. And it's close to home too. But
Because that one used to be out at the Palmetto Peddlers right,
Right.
there. And yeah, so there's a lot more space.
Yeah.
hmm
and they really good. They really good people. Always has been. Anything they ask you, they'll call you months in advance. You coming? I was like, I'm coming every year. It's too close home now. Unless there's something happens and I die and I can't go, I'll be there. You don't worry about us. We'll be there. So
All right, well, I'll link that. I'll get that information from y'all, and then I'll link any of the products, companies that we talked about, and also the upcoming schedule. So if y'all want to go check these guys out, you can pencil it in, then that'll be down there for you to look at also. And then don't forget that we're going to do the giveaway. We're going to give away 7 bottles of Tailgater Hater barbecue sauce,
autographed by
autographed by
Dennis. Yeah.
Barbecue Nature,
The Smoking Nature Boy.
Smoking Nature Boy.
Yeah.
The Smoking Nature Boy. And just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down on the YouTube channel. That's all you got to do, and I'll gather all those up, and we'll get those bottles out to you. And with that being said, I appreciate y'all stopping by.
Oh yeah. We enjoyed it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as always, I appreciate y'all's viewership, and God willing, we'll see you on the next one.